Everyone, it's Kristen. So today we're talking about Uncanny X Men 6. Um, I just got this yesterday, so I'm behind, of course. I think the four-part crossover raid on Graham Malkin Lane starts Wednesday. Um, since I don't subscribe to Uncanny X Men, I'm gonna try to find X Men, a copy locally. We'll see how that goes, because my local comic book store, part of it is they don't sell new comic books, because unfortunately, I've heard a lot of comic book stores, well, online, talk about how it's not profitable and it's hard to determine, hard to gauge the interest, and they don't want to get stuck with a bunch of like issues if they can't sell them. So anyway, yeah, so I'm gonna see if I can find, somewhere where I can pick that issue up. Oh, and I found this shirt in my closet, and I thought, I don't think I've worn this shirt before to do a video, so obviously I wore this shirt today, which is appropriate since we're talking about, X-Men, Uncanny X-Men, Rogue's team, basically. So, starts off with Becca 6 years ago with her mom, and obviously her mom is a rich society, type, and I'm assuming Becca is the only child, and so her mom keeps her like super sheltered. And she was talking about how Becca was talking about how the new assistant groundskeeper has a daughter her age. He showed her a picture and says she goes to a really nice school in town. And Becca was wondering if she could go. And her mom just ignores her question and says, "Oh, go ahead and get ready for, your lessons." So she leaves, and then her mom gets on the phone and says to the head groundskeeper, the new groundskeeper was leering at me, among other things. And so I want him fired immediately. So basically, she wants to keep Becca all to herself. So Becca is being spoiled right here because the rule of the house is, all the kids, for Marcus's rule for the Haven house is that all the kids have to go to school. And Becca's like, "No, I don't want to go to school. I'm not going to school. You can't make me. There's goblins there." And Wolverine just tries to reason with her. And yeah. She has Ember kick him. Oh, and the artist has changed. So it's no longer David. It's Javier Garon. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. I probably didn't. I mean, his art is nice. It's definitely more, I would say, like comic book, you know, animated inspired. Whereas I don't know. I just got spoiled by David's art because it's just really pretty. Like I love the way he drew Rogue, especially. So I don't know if this is just like a one issue hiatus, or if Javier is going to do multiple issues, or if David will be back. I don't know. I mean, if you guys know, let me know. But I guess we'll find out like in the next issue, or yeah, we'll find out. So anyway, Rogue, basically plays the stern mom and uses Becca's full name, which whenever they used your full name, that's when you knew you were really in trouble. Um, Honestly, I can't think of very many instances where my mom used my full name. Um, I mean, I was a pretty good kid, so I didn't get in trouble a whole lot. Except for this one time, well, in high school. But let's not talk about that. Anyway, so Wolverine remarks he doesn't remember the last time he's been hit that hard, and Rogue thinks about how Sarah, the dragon, and Harvey X all warned them about something called the Endling, basically the last mutant on Earth that watches all the other mutants die, and she thinks maybe um, Becca is that mutant. Although I still think, and this is probably not true, but I still think that Ember is the mutant, and that Becca just, like they just have a special bond. Because I mean, Ember does all the work. He's the one that has powers. So that's what I still say that Ember is the mutant, or anyway. So, and maybe just Becca's basically mutant powers that she's bonded with this magical horse. So, So Gambit goes and he talks to her. Like he has a dad moment where he pulls her aside and says, "Look, anytime someone looks at me, they know I'm a mutant. And these people here, they told me that that's okay, that I don't have to change and I can be who I am, despite what other people think of me. Because obviously, and but Becca's like, I can't be a mutant. My mama said I wasn't. Mutants um are when goblins and witches, like they come from goblins and witches. And Gambit says, I know you love your mama, but that doesn't change who you are. So Becca finally realizes that she's a mutant. And I feel like, she joyously declares, I'm a mutant. Um, I feel like there's something wrong with Wolverine's powers because he's like, he got hit harder than he's ever gotten hit, maybe, or hurts more than he's ever, felt in a while. And his eyes still haven't healed. So I feel like there's something wrong with his powers or wrong with him. So Rogue is like, whatever you said to her, thank you. I mean, and then so they all go to school. And Chelsea actually gives Becca her dinosaur so that she won't be scared at school because Becca of course can't bring Ember with her, and she said, this dinosaur has survived a hurricane, so he'll help you not be scared. So like a typical school, kids are mean to them. They call them poor kids, Haven piss poor Haven kids. I mean, kids are mean. Like it doesn't everywhere you go, kids are mean. There are honestly bullies everywhere, which sucks and is still a problem. So anyway, Marcus gives Nightcrawler and Jubilee a list and the keys to the van and says, I need you to go to the grocery store for me, basically. And the kid's accused of, Death Dream of basically only caring about himself because, he's kind of weird and he, not really, like, doesn't really emotionally connect to people. So anyway, they go to the store, and one of the things on the list is this local beer. And Nightcrawler says, I'll go get them some real beer. I'm assuming, he's going off to Germany to get them some real beer. I don't know. I mean, I think, Oktoberfest, they have that huge celebration every year, so I would assume they have pretty good beer there. So, meanwhile, though, outside, this van loses control of its car, no brakes. Nightcrawler sees this little girl is in trouble. He goes out there to rescue her. And the thing about Wolverine that's been going on bugging him is that this bottle he shared with his army buddies, and they made a pact basically on this bottle saying, whoever lives the longest is the winner, gets to keep this bottle. And so he's sad because he's the winner, but really he's the loser because he's the last one alive and he has no friends left. And so what Rogue has been feeling is part of, Harvey's powers, where he she can sense things about Wolverine and that something was wrong, and this is what was bothering him because his last army buddy's last friend died, which we saw at the very beginning of the series. Oh, and I wanted to touch on this really quick. So Jubilee sees some kids, when they're about to go into the store, and she's like, Nightcrawler, do you ever think about kids? And he's like, I'm a better babysitter than I would be a parent, I believe. And he's like, you're missing, your kid. And she's like, yeah, kind of a lot. Okay, so here's my thing. I mean, of course, Rogue and Gambit are married. They have been for like 6 years now, in real time. Comic book time, who knows how long. But I feel like, of course, the natural next step in their progression would be for them to have kids. But the problem with that is, especially with the X-Men, like kids and the X-Men don't mix very well. Um, yeah, because of course, look at Scott and Maddie's son. Um, he was sent into the future to save his life. So he comes back, but he's an adult. So, Scott, Maddie, they don't have kids, basically. And then you look at Dazzler and Longshot in the at the end of, I think, X-Men, it's either 10 or 11. I should have checked before I started this video. She is holding her stomach and they're talking about baby names, Shatterstar. And yet the next time we see Dazzler, which is many issues in the future, I believe it's Jean who, pokes like Scott or somebody else that's about to ask Dazzler, or maybe it's Professor Xavier, about to ask Dazzler about the baby. And whoever the telepath is, like I said, I should have checked. I'm sorry. Whoever the telepath is, they say, I don't sense like anything in her. Like I don't sense a baby. So what happened is the baby, she had the baby. It was taken, sent 100 years into the future. But that's not the weirdest part. So, Shatterstar, uh, his future self came back to the past, and that's who Mojo's servant who created Longshot based Longshot on, was Shatterstar. So, um, so Shatterstar is actually like his own grandfather in a way, because they took genetic and material from Shatterstar to make Longshot, but Longshot and Dazzler fathered Shatterstar. Anyway, and they were mind wiped, so they didn't remember having a baby. So again, Dazzler and Longshot, no kids. Jubilee, her kid turned into a dragon and flew away. Oh, so like I said, I feel like the X-Men and kids just don't mix. Like I feel like unless it's like a kind of secondary, third tier kind of background character. I mean, well, I guess, I don't think if one parent is at least like more of a background character, then that maybe they could make it work, but that would mean having like sideline like Rogue or Gambit, or basically they have kids and we never really see them with them. Although they do have kids in the, Chris Claremont, the end story that he wrote about, a possible future of the X-Men. So they have, kids in that. So do Emma and Scott. But, like I said, I don't see how kids in the X-Men actually work unless, like I said, the characters who are the parents are kind of sidelined a little bit because they can't be off. I guess they could be off on an adventure or off on a mission every single issue and like I guess they could talk about their kids like, hey, so and so's taking care of the kids. Obviously, they wouldn't trust Mystique or Destiny or any of those people, so they'd have to find someone they really trusted. So they could be like, oh, so and so's taking care of the kids. But I don't know. Anyway, I just don't, it just doesn't work out well for X-Men that have kids. So I feel like they're not going to have kids for a while. I don't even know if they will ever have kids. I mean, Rogue has mentioned in the past recently that she's not even sure if she wants kids. So I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, just doesn't seem to work out for X-Men and kids. So anyway, so Wolverine, sorry, back to this. I remembered, oh yeah, I wanted to mention that. So Wolverine, he's really upset and Rogue, comforts him and she calls him ground bear, like ground bear. That, I mean, of course he called her like Moonbeam, in the like first issue, which was kind of out of the blue, and now this ground bear, that's kind of out of the blue also, and kind of a weird nickname. I mean, I guess because he's kind of like, I don't know, just seems random. So we go back to Jubilee, and she's being held up. Okay, like this guy. Oh, I think that's the warden's like right hand security guy, and then we have Toad, Blob, and Siren right here. And like I pointed out last time, it seems like a lot of enemies of mutants actually use mutants a whole lot for their own purposes because here the mutants are being sent to capture other mutants. Yeah. So Nightcrawler saves the little girl, and the mom's like, you know, let go. And he's thinking, I'm so sorry. I know I look like a demon, but and then the mom asks, what's your name? I love this moment. And she's like, Kurt. And he says, Kurt. And she's like, Kurt, thank you for the life of my daughter. And she says, and you look every bit of an angel to me. I'm like, oh, because I love Nightcrawler. He's one of my favorite male characters. And to have him have like a kind of spotlight, good guy moment, I really appreciate that. I really like that. So I was just like, oh, okay. Made me like choke up, you know, just like a teeny bit, honestly. Uh, oh, but then she sees like a cop running towards her with a gun. So then she's like, "Oh, you need to get out of here. You need to run or do whatever that thing is that you do." Because, she's afraid for his safety. So, yeah. So he goes back into the store and Jubilee's not there. And Wolverine goes to ask Rogue and Gambit if they will, you know, bury this bottle with him, like if they will be his new people that he shares this with. And Gambit's like, I would be honored. And Rogue's like, no, no, don't you realize what's going on? Don't you guys get it? I mean, yeah, he may be indestructible, his body may be indestructible, but his heart's broken. And so basically what she's telling him is he has PTSD, which I'm like, okay. Because, well, I'll go into that in just a bit. So we're back at school, and the principal's telling them, hey, this is school, these are the rules, you have to behave, all these sorts of things. So, Wolverine, after Rogue told him you have PTSD, he says, you're not a therapist, Rogue. You can't just. And then she's like, does the finger? I hate it when people do this, like the finger, like one moment. I feel like that's so rude. But she does that, and she's like, "Hang on a minute." And, because Nightcrawler called and says Jubilee's gone and there's red liquid, and I think some of it is blood. So, unfortunately, so I don't know if we're going to get to the topic of her saying that he has PSD in the next issue, probably not. So that just honestly seems like a very like kind of a random thing to just throw in there. Um, because yeah. I mean, not to say that doesn't make sense with all that Wolverine has been through, because these are all of his army buddies, and he's the last living one, of course, because, he's been alive like for centuries and stuff. It just, like I said, it just seems like a random thing. That was one of the things about X-Men 97 that bothered me is they didn't go into stuff. Like all of a sudden Professor Xavier returned and they had like a one sentence, you know, between him and Scott about where he'd been all this time and whatever. Like it didn't get resolved to me. And nobody else commented or said anything. Like Storm didn't even say anything when she was like, "Oh my gosh," when she came back. She's not even like, "Oh my gosh, the professor." That bothers me when they just kind of throw random things in there. Not that Professor Xavier coming back was random, because obviously that was a big part of the plot, the show. But like I said, I'm not a fan of things just kind of being thrown in there. So I hope that they talk about that further, in future issues and really dive into that. So anyway, the kids try to behave. They really do, but they keep getting picked on by bullies. So they use their powers in order to, pick on the bullies and defend themselves, basically. And um, so this kid hands Beck a note and saying, "Hey, they need you in the gym because something's wrong with your papers." Anyway, it's an ambush. They take Becca, and the warden is super happy that they took Becca. So, like I said, based on the whole Sarah told Fawn to take Becca out first, the whole fact that she apparently through Ember hit Wolverine harder than he's ever been hit before. The fact that the warden is like, good. I'm glad, you grabbed her. Like, the other kids don't seem to be a priority. So I feel like she's like super important. Like she could be the endling, or she could be somehow connected, or anyway, like I said, I just feel like she's super important. So here are the next two issues because we start the raid on Grey Malkin Lane. Like I said, I believe this Wednesday. So we will try. We will see how we can we meaning me can make I'm sorry, we have a thing in my family where we say we will do something and that really means like one person. So the other person's speaking for that person. Anyway, so it talks about how like in the little summary it gives, it says, the four-part story, lives will be changed, secrets will be revealed, and the landscape of mutant heroism will take a dramatic shift. I mean, of course, they're selling it to us, um, yeah. So I don't know how much lives will be changed. We'll see. But I mean, I'm excited to read it, even though, you know, the team's fighting. It's been done before, of course, and is going to be done again in the future. That doesn't, like I said, I'm still excited to read it. I think most of it will be, the difference in how the leaders, Cyclops and Rogue, think that teams should be run, how they think things should be done, how they think that they should represent Xavier's dream. I feel like they have differences of opinion. So, I feel like they're gonna clash on that. So, like I said, hopefully, we'll be able to talk about that first, part this week. I will try, and we will see. Um, I actually did get Dazzler on Saturday also, Dazzler 3. So that is the next video I'm going to do. So I hope you will join me for that video tomorrow. And of course, um, I'm going to still do my advent calendar video for today. I just wanted to do this one first to make sure it got done. Um, because this one, well, I mean, the advent calendar video won't take me that long anyway. So I just wanted to make sure that this one was done, and I hope you watch the advent calendar video too. And then I hope you join me again tomorrow for another advent calendar video and a Dazzler 3. So until next time, bye.